The snow had been relentless that week. By the time Thursday rolled around, the entire neighborhood was buried under thick, heavy drifts, and the weight of it was starting to take its toll. Roofs groaned under the pressure, and reports were already coming in about collapses across town. I had planned to clear our roof myself that morning, but work called me in unexpectedly. Someone at the plant had screwed up an order, and I was the only one who could fix it. I left early, shovel still leaning against the porch, fully intending to handle it later. Amanda had other ideas. When I checked my phone during lunch, I had a text from her. I called the rescue guys. You're busy, and it's getting dangerous. I sighed, rolling my shoulders. I hated when she did things like that, taking control over something I had already planned for, making decisions without me. But fine, maybe she was right. Maybe I was being stubborn. I texted back, all right, just make sure they're careful. She didn't reply. That should have been my first clue. The second came hours later, when I called on my way home and she didn't pick up. That wasn't like her. Then I pulled into the driveway and saw 2 sets of footprints leading from the roof to the front door. The house was too quiet when I stepped inside. The kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle. Amanda? I called out. No answer. I set my keys down, shaking off the cold. The living room lights were dimmed, and there were 2 empty coffee mugs on the table. The air smelled different, faintly of sweat and something else. Something warm and human. Then I heard it. A muffled laugh. A man's laugh. It came from the back bedroom. A cold weight settled in my stomach as I moved down the hall. My own footsteps sounded too loud against the hardwood. My fingers curled into fists as I reached for the door handle, my pulse hammering in my ears. I pushed it open. There she was. Amanda, my wife. Her hair was a mess, her skin flushed, wrapped in nothing but a sheet. And beside her, a man I didn't recognize. Shirtless, smug, stretching lazily like he had just woken up from a good nap. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, staring, as Amanda's face turned from shock to horror. Shane, she gasped, sitting up. It's not. But she didn't finish the sentence. Because what could she possibly say? The man, Shane, apparently, rubbed the back of his neck, swinging his legs over the side of the bed. Look, man, I punched him. The impact sent him sprawling off the bed, knocking over the nightstand. Amanda screamed, scrambling backward, but I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at the complete stranger who had been in my bed, in my house, inside my wife. I didn't even feel my knuckles split as I grabbed him again, slamming him against the wall. Who the hell are you? I growled. He coughed, holding up his hands. I was just... You were just what? I shoved him harder, my vision tunneling. Amanda was still screaming behind me, pleading for me to stop, but I was drowning her out. I wanted this guy's face imprinted on my fists. I wanted to rip him apart. But then, somehow, I stopped. I stepped back. Shane stumbled, panting, looking at me like he wasn't sure if I was going to kill him or let him go. I turned to Amanda. She was clutching the sheets to her chest, tears streaming down her face, shaking her head like she could undo everything just by wishing it away. Ethan, she sobbed, please. I walked out. I didn't even grab my keys. I just left, because I wasn't going to fight for her. I was going to ruin her. I drove around for hours. The winter wind cut through the truck's cracked window, but I barely felt it. My knuckles throbbed where they'd split against Shane's face, but I barely noticed. All I could see was Amanda, my wife, naked, in our bed, with another man. The betrayal burned deep, hotter than the anger. I had given her everything, years of my life, my trust, and she threw it away like it meant nothing. I was going to make her pay. By the time I pulled into a gas station parking lot, my head was clearer. I sat there in the dark, my breath clouding in the freezing air, thinking. Amanda wasn't just unfaithful, she was careless. She had been comfortable enough to bring another man into our house, which meant this wasn't the first time, and that meant there was proof somewhere. If she had taken pictures, sent messages, left any kind of trail, I was going to find it, and I did. It took less than 10 minutes. Hundreds of messages, dozens of photos, some of them dating back months. This wasn't a one-night mistake. This was a full-blown affair. And it wasn't just Shane. There were others. My stomach turned as I scrolled through the texts. Some were playful, some explicit. But the worst part? Amanda was the one who had initiated most of it. She had been lying to me for a long time, and I had been too blind to see it. I clenched my jaw and closed the app. I wasn't going to let rage control me. I wasn't going to do something reckless. I was going to destroy her. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I went to a motel on the edge of town, paid in cash, and started planning. Amanda relied on me for everything: finances, bills, the house. She had a job, but she wasn't exactly good with money. I spent the next day pulling my name from every shared account. I transferred our savings into a private account she couldn't touch. The texts, the pictures, I sent them all to her family, her friends, even a few of her coworkers. I didn't need to add a message. The evidence spoke for itself. I met with a lawyer the next morning. I explained everything, showed him the evidence. He laid out my options, and by the end of the meeting, I had a solid case for divorce that would leave Amanda with nothing. She wouldn't just lose me. She would lose the house, the money, the life she had taken for granted. Amanda didn't know that I had installed security cameras in the house last year after a break-in scare. She also didn't know that the cameras recorded audio, and they had captured everything. I had her voice on tape, moaning for Shane, calling my name between breaths, laughing about how easy it was to lie to me. I copied the footage onto a flash drive and mailed it to her employer. Because here's the thing, Amanda worked in HR, and her company had a morality clause. Sleeping with multiple men, some of whom were married colleagues, was enough to get her fired. 2 days later, I finally went home. Amanda was waiting for me. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen. The moment I stepped inside, she rushed to me. "Ethan." I held up a hand. "Don't." She flinched. Tears welled in her eyes. "Please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But..." I tossed a folder onto the table. "Divorce papers." Her breath hitched. She opened the folder with shaking hands. "Ethan, we can talk about this?" "There's nothing to talk about." Then I turned and walked away. Because Amanda had nothing left. No husband. No money. No home. No job. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.